Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Oh, such a pleasure seeing you, Rishabh.
Oh, it's a pleasure seeing you as well.
Yes, indeed.
And you have now grown a beard.
The quarantine beard, isn't it?
Quarantine beard. Before we begin
Yes,
all of very
sure.
formal, I need to introduce you.
Okay.
Okay. So I would like to welcome somebody who is, like I told you guys, is not just wise in the worldly sense, but is wise from within. And if you do not understand what I'm saying, you're on the wrong program. But this guy is wise from within and wise to the extent that he looks at somebody like me and also says, there is potential in you. There is potential, but he did not specify what potential is. Today I have realized that full potential, Guruji. I have realized the potential and I have become a clown. So you will be very proud of me. But let me on that note welcome a motivational speaker, a real life walking monk amongst us, and somebody who inspires by whatever he does. What he will find as a challenge today is to manage to inspire people with somebody like me on the screen. So welcome to IIMUN officials Kuch To Karona Gaur Gopal ji.
You're
Very
very
master.
funny, man.
But but tell me how the beard is because of the lack of shaving cream, or is it just because is it laziness?
It's a combination of both. Shaving cream getting over and the laziness both put together.
This guy is so intelligent. He must be thinking, saying, "Baba, when I went to IIMUN at that juncture, this guy seemed smart. Now suddenly, what happened to him? And look at him saying all these rubbish things." But let me ask you my first question. Now serious.
Uh-huh.
Serious.
Okay.
Okay. So the first question. So the first question is, what according to you, Gaur Gopalji, has been the biggest positive of this pandemic? What is the biggest positive of this pandemic?
Mm-hmm. I think just a couple of days back it was Mother's Day, isn't it? All of us love our mothers. And I always tell this funny thing that a little 5-year-old boy went to his mom and said, Mama, I love you. And the mother said, I love you too, beta. Then he turned 16. He went to the mother and said, Mama, I love you. The mother said, Kitna paisa chahiye bol? And then he turned 25 and he came and he said, Mama, I love you. The mother
Uh-huh.
said, कौन है किधर रहती है बता दे शादी कर देगा तेरी. You know? Then he turned 40 and he came to his mom and said, Mama, I love you. And the mother said, बोला था ना उससे शादी नहीं करने का. Then he turned then he turned 60 and he came and he told his mother, Mama, I love you. Mother said, मैं किसी भी प्रॉपर्टी पेपर पे साइन नहीं करूंगी तू निकालेगा. I often say this to illustrate that very often all of us in our relationships think very much from our own point of view.
Correct.
We don't think from the other person's point of view. And Mother's Day means to expand our horizons to think more and more from her point of view as well. But to me, mother is much larger than the biological mother who gave birth to us. We
Correct.
have Mother Earth and we have Mother Nature.
Right.
And to me, the biggest upside of the pandemic, apart from all what is happening, is that you can very clearly see, that the sky is much clearer, the waters are much bluer, the animals are much freer, the birds are flying much higher, the air is much cleaner, the leaves are much greener, right?
Correct.
So I think the upside of the pandemic is that Mother Nature, the environment, Mother Earth is telling us, look guys, I don't need you, we don't need you. Without you, we have managed fantastic. It's with you guys out there, we were in a mess. E.O. Wilson said a very interesting thing. He said, if the entire human race was to be wiped off from planet Earth,
Right.
there would be nothing missing. Everything would be going on very well. They don't need us. We need them.
Yeah.
So at this point of time, they have shown us very clearly that we've kind of been a curse by spoiling what's around us. And now, after this pandemic, we should be truly human beings by being very conscious and be a blessing to Mother Nature, be a blessing to Mother Earth. So I think Mother's Day is this time, giving that conscious sensitivity to Mother Earth and Mother Nature. And Dia Mirza would be very happy when I say this.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to record this part and send it to her. But tell me
You
one thing.
must, yes.
How did you come to know and predict my life? You said at when you were a boy you did this. Then when you turned so and so you did this. Then when you turned 25 you did this.
You're very modest and very humorous, indeed.
You know, but the biggest positive of this pandemic, honestly, is I am getting to see you with a beard because I've never
Okay.
seen you. So I am,
Yes, nobody has.
guys. So for all the fans of Gaur Gopal ji, this is the look that you will get only during quarantine.
I think so.
But the biggest upside, like you said, is the planet, and
Yes,
the world doesn't need us. We need the world.
yes.
And especially for young people who are watching between the age bracket of 13 to 24.
Mhm.
Do you think learning about the environment, sensitizing yourself to your surroundings is a quintessential part of curriculum, should be a quintessential part of school curriculum?
I think, yes, it should be a part of the curriculum, but more than the curriculum, it should be a part of personal culture. Because we learn a lot of things in the curriculum that we never apply.
Correct.
I mean, being very honest. That
Yeah,
we
yeah,
learn
correct.
a lot of things in our books which we never ever bother to put in our life. You
I
know?
don't remember anything from my 10th standard or 12th standard at all.
You know
So,
what? You know what? One friend of mine told me I forget three things really bad. I said, what? He said, the first thing I forget numbers, telephone numbers. The second thing I forget names.
right.
And the third thing that I forget, I forgot. So anyways, the point really is that a lot of things that are in our books, which we often forget,
Correct.
you know, are not really brought into real life.
Correct.
But when it's a part of our personal culture, a part of our upbringing,
Correct.
we see that those tiny little things that go into our system, जो हमारे
Right.
जहन में उतर जाता है, that becomes
जी.
a part of us for our entire life, you know.
जी.
So I feel it's definitely important to have this in the curriculum, but I feel it's very crucial and important that it is a part of our upbringing and a part of our personal culture.
So we need to have teachers outside the school also, and for that we have a
Absolutely.
wonderful teacher. And I think you are oversubscribed on YouTube. But if you get a few more viewers at the end of this, please remember 10% of all royalty. 10% of all royalty.
In which currency?
I usually on this channel I transact in Zimbabwean dollars. So or
I absolutely have no idea of the currency conversion rate, but I surely know that it must be really minuscule, which is why you offer royalty in Zimbabwean dollars.
very true, very true. But tell me, how has your life changed? Has
Yeah.
Gaur Gopal ji, have you, as somebody who used to travel? I know your schedule. I remember your
Yes.
itinerary.
Yes.
I changed, and I must thank Shyam Gopal, and I must thank Sagar Wadikar and all the people who've been a part of your team and set up in the past and currently also. Because I chased them for so long. Because I know your schedule is so packed. So, has there been a change in your schedule day to day, life per se, or is it the same? I mean, because you are now
Yeah.
tolerating, I'm beginning to wonder, saying, has there been a massive change?
I think before the lockdown, I was a bird. And after the lockdown begun, I've become a terrestrial animal, you know. So, so before the lockdown, I was constantly flying over plus flights, sometimes 250 flights a year. So that
Right.
much flying. So you're practically a bird in the air, right? And then now here you are, lockdown begins, and I'm like a terrestrial animal confined to the cage of my room. Like isolation and quarantine and lockdown is like being confined to the cage of the zoo in one sense.
Correct.
So I think what the lockdown has done is definitely 2 months I haven't taken a single flight. That's like totally unlike me. Within 10 days, it's usually 20 flights.
I know,
And
I know.
and and suddenly you have this, that there's no flights at all. But then I think, people who are positive, optimistic, they look at the letter O at the beginning of the word opportunity.
Okay.
And people who are negative, they look at the letter O at the end of the word zero. So you look at the letter O either in opportunity or everything's zero and finished. So I said, hey, wait a minute. This is the greatest opportunity. Why? I can rest well. It's hard when you take 200 plus flights. I can work on my workouts and exercise. Great, discipline there, right? I can get into a lot of reading. I can spend a lot of time with my close friends in the ashram and the monastery, which I've done. So from that perspective, the lockdown has been a great opportunity to work on myself. Fantastic opportunity. So yeah, life has changed for sure.
Life,
From
life
the
is
air
changing
to the ground.
from the air to the ground. And for
Yes.
people positive, they see the O in opportunity.
Yes, indeed.
And for people like me who have spelling disorders and problems with spellings, I any which way only see the O in opportunity because I don't know it's a double P or a single P. So I'm like, oh,
Oh.
and then we. but but I must take you to the second part of what we do. It's called Tumbi Karuna.
Mm-hmm.
I feel really bad for compelling you to laugh on my really bad jokes. But the second part of what we do is called Tumbi Karuna.
Okay.
And these segments are not decided by me. Please understand.
Okay.
These
Sure.
segments are decided by the team. So,
Okay.
if you have to blame someone, please blame the team. But it's called, and in this segment, I want you to. The first question is: young people like me and young people just generally are very
Mm-hmm.
anxious. We are
Mm-hmm.
waiting
Mm-hmm.
to run, like we are
Correct.
waiting to run outside and to pause and breathe. I know
Mm.
you talk about spirituality and all the big things in life, but Gaur
Mm.
Gopal, for people like me and people who are watching, it is more about being the cool kid in college. And
Correct.
now that college is shut, we are no longer the cool kids anywhere.
Mm.
So what is it that we can do sitting at home because we are very anxious and the anxiety, how do you deal with anxiety is the main question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you can't be the cool kid in college and then you're listening to a guru on Instagram Live, then you become the guru cool kid in the Gurukul, the
Oh,
Gurukul kid. Anyway, jokes apart, I always say that I studied engineering and
right,
mathematics was a part of my life, you know.
right,
And when you look at mathematical equations, like one
right,
teacher asked a boy, if A is equal to B and B is equal to C,
right,
then A is equal to C.
correct,
Can you give me a practical example? The guy said, well, it's simple, man. I love you. You love your daughter. So the rest of it I don't have to say, which is why I love whom A is equal to C. Now, now look at this. When you're looking at an equation, I feel life is also like an equation. And in this equation of life, we have primarily two parts. One is the constants, the other is the variables. Constants are those that you can't change. Like pi in the equation is 3.14. You can't change it. It's a constant. Right? So
correct,
there are going to be constants in your life that you can't change. But there are
correct,
variables that you can work on. Correct? Now, for instance, after a certain age, your height is a constant,
correct.
but your weight is a variable. You know
Ah,
what people think of you is a constant.
Correct.
What you think about people is a variable. What people talk about you behind your back is a constant. You can't change it. What you talk about people behind their back is a variable. You can choose what to talk. Correct? The lockdown, the corona pandemic, a lot of restrictions that are there is a constant. You can't change it.
Right.
But then you have to focus your attention on the variables. Because the more you're focused on constants, you're depressed. The more you're focused on the variables, you are joyful. The more you're focused on the constants, you are frustrated. The more you're focused on the variables, you are hopeful. The more you focus on what you cannot do, you
Correct.
feel anxious. The more you
Yeah.
focus on what you can do, you feel empowered, right? So I feel there is a great need to now start dividing our life in these two parts. What is it that's beyond me? What's the point beating your head against the wall? The wall doesn't move, your head hurts.
Correct. I'll
You
try.
know?
Correct.
Don't try, man. Yeah, but that's what I would say. Shifting our attention to what we can do during this time.
Understood. So it's basically the variables that one needs to work on and not the
Sure,
constant.
sure.
If I only paid attention in maths class, so much attention in maths class, by now I would have ate the subjects. But the variables in our life, Gaur Gopalji, the variables in our life are far too many. You said
Mm-hmm.
the variables are your weight, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, so the variable in my case is now we are sitting at home. We are
Mm-hmm.
sitting at home and we are eating and eating and eating and eating and
Mm.
binge eating. And
Mm.
now slowly I've developed a tummy.
Mm.
And
Doesn't look like, man, seeing you even here.
on close observation, you'll come to know. But there are these habits which now in the variables also. How do you get out of the routine? I'm sorry, I must ask this personal question. Suppose we want to change our routine, like
Mm-hmm.
my normal day to day, and so many young people, their normal day to
Mm-hmm.
day life, sleeping at 2 a.m. or
Mm-hmm.
sleeping at 3 a.m. and getting up at 10 because now there's
Mm-hmm.
no school, there's no college,
Sure,
so we've
sure.
gotten a habit which is, and how do we change that habit? How can you break the habit?
Correct, correct.
How can you
I
break
think,
the chain?
sure, sure, sure. Firstly, I would want to say that Jim Rohn, he said a very interesting thing. He said, either the day runs you or you run the day. So if the day is running you, things go just spontaneously. But
Correct.
if you are running the day, then
Correct.
you're in control of how things should move. You have a
Correct.
discipline, you have a schedule, you have things to do, right? So now obviously the question is, how do you get to that schedule, right? How do you kind of break that loop? How do you come out of that shell? How do you break that conditioning, that habit, right?
Right. Right. Right.
Right. Yeah, yeah. So I think the most important aspect to be able to break a habit is that we need to start small. Start small. If you're waking up at 10 o'clock, why not start at 9:45? If you're sleeping at 2 o'clock, why not start sleeping at 1:45? A
Done.
15 minutes change. A 15 minutes change is possible. And once your system gets accustomed to the 15 minutes changed, get another installment of 15, and you will see that you're able to achieve something. Otherwise, when we jump for the bigger things, which are beyond our reach, we fall flat on our face. We know that it's just beyond me. And then, we just say, nahi hoga yaar mere se, bas abhi chhod deta hai main.
Correct. Correct.
That's what we do. So let's start with the small things that are within our reach. And that could be for any habit. Reading.
Right.
If you're not used to reading, don't think I'm
Right.
going to finish a book during the lockdown. You've never read a book in your life. How are you going to finish a whole book during the lockdown? So why
Correct.
don't you start with reading 2 pages a day first? Or 3 pages a day first? Not hard, not too much pressure on the mind. And then once the mind gets a little accustomed, read
Right.
5 pages. Read 5 pages. And feel that sense of empowering confidence that I can do, rather than going for the big and feeling that depression that I can't.
Um,
Yeah.
So it's about the small changes that we need to
Yes.
start making.
Indeed.
And it's not about anything big, and we do not need to shoot for the stars and then follow the stars. Because if you shoot for
Yes. Yeah, yeah, go ahead, go ahead. Please, please.
because if you shoot for the stars, then you'll fall flat on your face.
But if you no, 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 no. You are always cracking jokes on yourself. You know, you're the one who's always cracking jokes on yourself. All the students who are watching you, Rishabh, they love you. And they know that you're very modest but extremely funny.
I wish this was true, but because Gaur Gopal ji is saying it, please understand that whatever he says is true. Now that he said this, this is the Bhagavad Gita
Gospel,
and
gospel truth.
the
Gospel
gospel,
truth.
the gospel. And this is what I really like about you, and I like about spirituality, that it doesn't have any religion, and it is. But I'll come to that a little later. But what can young people, according to you, do sitting at home? So reading a book and these small habits. If there was one thing you tell every young person to do sitting at home, what is it that they should be doing?
I'll tell three things, Rishabh. I can't tell one thing. Okay. Okay, three things.
Okay.
The first thing is chill.
Is chill.
Chill.
Mom, are you listening? My mother is listening to this. Mom, please listen.
You know why I'm saying this? Because you're never going to get this kind of chill time again.
Okay.
So number one thing I want to tell all the youngsters is chill, right? But if you're simply going to chill, then after the lock, you're going to be in the drill. Correct? So, which is precisely why the second thing is skill. Work on, along with chill, work on honing, refining, enhancing, improvising your skill or learning some skill. Because if you're along with the chill, if you're also working on your skill, after the lockdown, there's a possibility you'll go uphill. Right? And then the third thing I want to tell all the youngsters is chill, skill, and then third is fulfill. Fulfill your role at home. Don't irritate your mom and your dad and people around you. You know? And I'll tell you what it is like. I'll tell you what it's like. If you're not a part of the solution, at least don't be a part of the problem. That's it. Nobody's
Agreed.
saying be a part of the solution. At least don't be a part of the problem. And that much also is fulfilling your responsibility. And if you fulfill, they'll have a thrill. So my three things to say are chill, work on a skill, and enhancing your skill, and fulfill whatever little you can do because you're at home, right? And you know something, if you're just chilling without the skill and the fulfill, then it's irresponsibility.
Correct.
And if you're simply fulfilling your responsibilities at home and so focused on that serious type skill, then it's damn boring and monotonous, man. Therefore, this balance is very crucial, I think.
So, but always be a part of the solution. Never be a part of the problem. So this
at least not the problem, man.
At least this is why I don't cook. This is the reason why I don't cook. but for everybody who's watching, who is not an organizer of IIMUN, if you are organizers of IIMUN and you're part of the team, remember chill doesn't apply to you. Only skill and fulfill applies to you.
Okay. Some chilling is needed there also, man.
No, I'm just joking, because now what they're going to do is they're going to play this clip on repeat, and because I respect you so much and all of these people respect you so much, they're all going to say, now Guruji said this, so now you have to fulfill all the three, not just two.
What will happen is they'll only edit the first part out, the chill part. You take the two and keep reminding those guys, look at this part as well.
That is exactly what I'm going to be doing. But this is the reason why I remember in Ambi Valley we had a bunch of speakers who had come in Ambi Valley, and I remember that amongst a galaxy of luminaries there was this one person who got 4 standing ovations. And I want to ask you this: how does it feel to be talking to that person
How does it feel to talking to what?
To that person who got 4 standing ovations.
Oh man, talking to that person who got 4 standing ovations. It feels great, man. Great. Why 4? I guess he got standing ovations every single time he came on stage. And I guess he came on stage too many times. Too many times.
The man who got the standing ovations was the one who I am talking to.
Oh man.
But tell me, what has been that one experience that has shaped you and made you the person that you are? You are humble, you are motivating, and you are the real life monk. Yeah, you are leading a life amongst all of us, but also have renounced almost everything per se. You wear simple clothes. I've seen your habits. I've seen how you've conducted yourself. What's that one incident that is not in public domain that has shaped you and made you who you are?
It's a part of the book I wrote, but I still want to share it because it's my favorite story. You know,
Done.
when I joined the monastery, our ashram, I was a pampered boy, obviously. You know, so I never did my laundry. I never cooked for myself. I never washed my plates. I never did any stuff. Everything was taken care of by mom, a lovely mom. You know,
Are you secretly taunting me with every part of the story that you say? No.
uh, if you're going to allude to anything, it's your problem, man, not mine. So, so when I came here in the ashram, in the monastery, it was like an orientation course in everything. They had to give me orientation in washing my clothes. We didn't have a laundromat or washing machine. So we had to do it this traditional Indian style, if you know what it is. In one bucket you put water and then you put the detergent powder and you play with it like this and you make a lot of foam and stuff. You make a lot of foam and stuff like that. And then you soak your clothes in there. And
Correct.
then you allow them to soak for like 20, 30, whatever minutes. And then you
Correct.
come and you scrub them. And
Right.
then in another bucket, you have the tap open to take clean water. And then you pull those clothes and rinse out of it. The traditional Indian method of washing clothes and doing your laundry. So I had
Correct.
soaked my clothes after I got trained in it. And then one day, I mean, I didn't know who was watching there. So I just scrubbed the clothes and then I kicked that bucket with my foot. Like, I mean, who doesn't do that?
You kicked the bucket.
No, I kicked the bucket to the side. Like you just kick with your foot, right? You just put it to the side.
My question is then, how are we talking to Gaur Gopal Prabhuji? If you've already kicked the bucket, who are we talking to?
Man. We're going to have to start a stand-up comedy show soon. We'll do an open mic together along with your book.
No. Please.
So then I just put the bucket to the side with my foot. So I could bring the empty bucket and start the water flow to rinse my clothes. And I heard a voice from behind, "What are you doing?" I looked behind, was another senior monk. I said, "Well, I'm just putting the bucket to the side so I can rinse my clothes in this clean water." He said,
Correct.
"That's fine, but what are you doing?" I said, "Man, I am filling this bucket with water to rinse my clothes." He said, "I am seeing that, but what are you doing?" I said, "For heaven's sake, I am cleaning and washing my clothes." And you know what he told me? I've never forgotten in my life. He said to me, "Gaur Gopal," he was senior to me, so he took my name and he said, "Gaur Gopal," very lovingly. And he said, "You know something? It's not just about kicking that bucket. It's about an attitude of how you treat your things. If you're treating your things with this kind of an attitude, the same attitude will come to larger things and people as well. Because attitude is agnostic. It doesn't discriminate between a bucket, your laptop, your flat screen, your relative, your friend. Your attitude is the same with everybody. And therefore, the more you start treating things, smaller things with dignity, you will see that that attitude slowly becomes a part of your system and it starts coming into everything that you do, you know. And that lesson kind of really got into me so strongly. I realized it wasn't about a bucket. And this should definitely not apply to football. Because obviously there are going to be certain things that are meant to be kicked, right? That's the purpose.
Oh, oh. Now the second person who's going to be a part of my stand-up comedy club is going to be you. I'm going to request you, Gaur Gopal,
We'll
to
do
be a
it
part of
together.
it. But this is a wonderful example that attitude is something that is agnostic and will
True.
continue. And you need to treat the small things with dignity because big or small, that attitude is going to carry through. Is
That's
this the
true.
reason why you treat me with a lot of dignity?
You know what? I'll tell you what, Rishabh. You're such a precious gem that I don't have a choice. If I would treat a bucket like this, what to speak of a precious gem, man?
No, no, no. But let me take you to something which is the last part, which is a lot of
Sure,
fun.
sure.
And this is the part that I love the most.
Hmm.
It's a rapid fire.
Okay,
It's a set of questions which you have to answer in one word.
okay,
Okay. And you can't think too much.
okay.
Okay, then. Okay. So if you, so okay. The first word, the first thing that comes to your mind when I say the following words. The first
Hmm.
thing that comes to your mind when I say the following words. Coronavirus.
Combat,
Spirituality.
transformation,
Food.
necessity.
I would go with love, but
Necessity.
but family.
Love,
This is why you are the guru and I am the shishya. But but India, according to you, in one word.
pride,
Fun.
life.
I thought you would say fun. This show, but it's okay.
This show as well. That's the next
Okay.
answer.
No, 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 just joking. Positivity.
Positivity, hope,
Lockdown.
opportunity,
God.
personal,
And IIMUN.
lit.
Late. That I must say was my favorite answer in the rapid.
Lit.
But as my last question to you is going to be this. My second last question is going to be this: is that if you had to explain spirituality to young people in one sentence,
Mhm.
what would it be? What would that sentence be?
The sentence would be, in trying to work on your outside, just do not forget the inside.
Brilliant. This is brilliant. That's why I never work on my outside. Look, it's the same. It's the same.
Balance the two, the outside and the inside. That's spirituality.
And before I let you go, because we have 2 more minutes, I'm going to ask two questions. Any one question from anyone.
Sure.
Uh, any of you who have a question, I'd be more than happy to ask. Now,
Sure.
so the problem is it takes 2 seconds to buffer.
I
So
know.
now when they get this, now there will be a flood of questions, and now everyone else will curse me saying you didn't ask my question.
Yeah.
But you are awesome, Guruji, says Anil Reddy 3975. He's saying 3,975 times he's saying, Guruji, you are awesome.
Hey, you guys are
Okay.
awesome, man. I had such a great time at IIMUN when I came. Such an incredible audience. These guys were like absolutely cracking up and just totally into it. I loved it. Absolutely loved
Yeah.
it.
But somebody asked the question.
Mhm.
Uh, these are the first question is a serious one. The last one I'll end with. Yeah, and the first question is, what is God?
What is God? Okay. If you're talking about what is God, then I would answer that question by being that the first premise is you would have to be a theist to accept there is one. Correct? if the premise is you accept one, then the question is what is God? There would be
Correct.
someone who would not even accept that premise that there is a God. Correct?
Correct.
But
Correct.
regardless of whether we are talking about acceptance or non-acceptance of God, we are all talking about a beginning point, a point from which everything starts,
Right.
right? A point from where the whole creation starts, your chicken and egg question again, right? So a point from where everything begins. Now, those who are in the field of theism, they call that point or that beginning God.
Correct.
And those who are not in the field of theism would probably just call that point something, whether it's a point of, from the Big Bang or whatever, but both accept that there has to be a source to begin. Correct? So, as an answer to that question, since you asked what is God, in brief, if you're a theist, then God is that first point from where everything begins.
Correct. No, that's very rightly said. And the final question on the show, I promise you, is this: when is the stand-up? People are asking, when is the date for the stand-up comedy show? What
We,
is the date for the stand?
myself and Rishabh will first mutually find out a venue. And then once we crack the venue, we will post on our social media handles when is our called stand-up comedy show
Oh,
together.
oh. No, but honestly,
Pleasure.
before I leave you in, before I change the analysis that you've done and leave the audience in a state of paralysis,
Uh-huh.
using your words only of analysis and paralysis, I think I need to start focusing on both the external and the internal. And I think what you've mentioned, Gaur Gopalji, is something that I think is very useful for young people. I
Mhm.
am very grateful that we could make this happen. And from the bottom of my heart, because I
Such a
usually
pleasure.
shoot for the stars and fall on my face. So from the bottom of my heart, from the ground, telling you this, thank you very much for coming and
Thank
being.
you. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much,
much.
Rishabh, for having me over. Thank you. Have a great evening, you and all of you who are attending. Thank you. Bye bye. Thanks. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.